The spectre of the Titanic disaster has long loomed large over Belfast. A list of all 1,512 souls who perished are remembered without favour on a plinth in the grounds of City Hall. The tragic events of that April night in 1912 has obscured the incredible feats of engineering that built such ships, a lost pride in our shipyards, which were the envy of the world. For Belfast to prosper, it needed to export its linen, rope and tobacco around the world. But there was a problem. The port wasn't a natural harbour. Its waters were shallow and muddy. In the 18th century, the harbour commissioners realised that a solution was needed if it was to realise its ambition of Belfast becoming a global trader and shipbuilding superpower.
Well, in the course of the 19th century, particularly in the mid-19th century, then we see the major works to dredge and to cut a channel and to straighten the lagan, the creation of the Victoria Channel, and that makes a huge difference to Belfast in many ways. It improves the access of ships to Belfast, so now much larger ships are able to come right up to the city.
But a colossal feat of engineering.
Oh, massive.
You know,
I mean, it's hard now to believe that something there could have been undertaken.
You do, you know, it's the same with the shipbuilding. You know, Belfast always seems to punch above its weight. To find out more, I'm crossing the river to the eastern side to meet Terry Medill, an engineer whose family worked on the Titanic.
Before they built the ships, they had to build the land on which the ships was built. What we're standing on now was put here by the most famous engineer in the history of Ireland, William Dargan. It was actually called Dargan's Island, because what he did, the harbour office, the ballast board as it was known then, they realised that for Belfast City to grow, they had to straighten the river lagan and cut the big meander out of it to get the big ships up into High Street, so Belfast could become a really, really profitable port.
So the land essentially dredged from the
river
channel becomes Dargan's Island.
And they dumped it all here. You know, have you never been insulted by the boys the other side of the river? You come from the reclaimed land. Yeah. The city would never have been built if it hadn't been for the ballast board, the harbour commissioners. It was a double whammy. It produced prosperity from trade and linen, tobacco, all this lemonade. Think about all the big industries here, Sirocco works, you know, the stuff that we've done here is unbelievable. And then William Dargan was offered a knighthood. He didn't take it because when Queen Victoria came here for her centenary, one of her jubilees, they renamed it the Queen's Island.
Took his name?
Oh, she took his island.
Brilliant. And I suppose at the turn of the century, the workforce, you know, would have expanded exponentially as the ships come in. You know, what size was this workforce? What are we talking about?
I would say at the start of the 20th century, Belfast would have been the fastest growing industrial city in the world outside the United States of America, and shipbuilding was a big part of that. It reached 36,000 workers. The biggest shipyard in the world, Harland Wolff, and the fourth biggest shipyard in the world, Workman Clark, both on Queen's Island, working away.
And is that workforce indigenous? Like, do they all come from the sort of Belfast and the outland?
A lot of Scottish would have come over, and they would have brought, like, the hard graft drew thousands, tens of thousands of people in from the countryside. At that time, Belfast, like all the areas of Belfast, grew exponentially at this time, and shipbuilding was the big draw. It was more labour intensive than linen, so it was hard graft. And then the finishing out and the fitting out of the ships, they brought artisan craftsmen. Like, you go into Belfast City Hall, some people call Belfast City Hall the Stone Titanic. The same craftsmen were brought in to finish the Olympic class liners that were in Belfast City Hall doing all the marble work and all this sort of thing. So it brought people from all over the world, but largely from the countryside.
What influence do these men coming from Scotland bring?
They brought their own language as well. Like, you know, I always remember them, you know, a blay and a showl.
So what's a blade?
A blay is when you're old-fashioned, when they're hammering the rivets home, you can get a wee feathered edge come off the edge of the rivet.
Okay.
And it would have been red hot if it had fallen down the back of your neck. You know, it's like a scalp of steel from the riveting process, and it's called a blay.
You're an engineer yourself. You worked in the shipyard. What do you think is the legacy that those men have left today?
I think they've given us a very strong self of our own confidence in their engineer skills. It's still there. Like, there's shipyards coming back. We're going to start building ships again.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's marvellous. I think it's, why wouldn't you? You look at the facilities we have down there, and them two big yellow cranes, they're not going nowhere. It'd be good to see them flat out working again. There was nothing here. It was sloglands, it was mud. They created a shipyard out of mud. They had to make the ground before they could work on top of the ground to build the ships. So Belfast is an engineering achievement in itself. You know, it's called a Belfast Sleech. It's reinforced water. You can't build anything in that, but we do.
Yeah.
And we've got a great city, and I think people like Dargan and Harlan and Wolf, and even my great grandfather, we're standing here on our own 2 feet because of people like that built it out of nothing at the start of the 20th century.
I'm here at Belfast City Hall at one of 2 memorials to the Titanic disaster. It's only when you see the 1,512 names on this memorial that you realise the magnitude, the scale of what happened in the North Atlantic in 1912. I'm from East Belfast, from a generation of shipbuilders. Titanic was never really talked about, but when it was with great sadness. When I stand here today in Belfast, I'm filled with a sense of pride at the amount of people who come from all over the world to marvel at the feats of engineering generated by thousands of Belfast men down through the years.